What's going on, Vikings fans? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and thank you guys so much for joining us as a part of our weekly live shows where we go live at around 3 p.m. Eastern Time every single Wednesday, breaking down the latest around your Minnesota Vikings. A lot to talk about today with the bye week here. I do want to hit some of the trade rumors and go over some all-in trade targets for this Minnesota Vikings team, and then also maybe some changes. Even though the Vikings are 5-0, I do want to look at where this team can get better, because I have a Super Bowl expectation for this ball club, and they have a big-time chance to potentially go on a massive run this postseason. And also Nick Wright, he's talking out of his ass again, disrespecting Sam Darnold. So we'll break that down on today's show. But if you guys are all in on this Minnesota Vikings team, just give me a skull down below in the comments section. Already got a bunch of real ones in the building. The Purple Filth, Aaron Shields, Hey Zeus saying, does Sam Darnold understand no horrible throws and turnovers? Yeah, he understands that. No doubt about that. But Crystal saying hi to Jace in the chat. Jace saying, what up, Jace? Purple Papa saying Jeffery Simmons. Jeffery Simmons is my number one trade target. Now, a lot of Vikings fans want Dexter Lawrence, and I do too. The only thing is like Dexter Lawrence is not getting traded by the New York Giants. Honestly, the Giants beating the Seahawks last week kind of put that to bed. But in terms of my all-in target at the defensive line, it is no doubt Jeffery Simmons. Honestly, out of any position that the Vikings could trade for, I think it would be Jeffery Simmons. No doubt about it. But Hockey Kid saying, my name is Jace. What up, Hockey Kid? Welcome in. Appreciate you for joining us today. Tracy Major saying, Skull, shout out to you. What up, Tracy? How you doing? United Mexican States, what up, brother? Saying I changed my sport, sadly. To what, if I may ask? But you guys let me know this. The Vikings are the blank best team in the National Football League. Where do the Vikings rank for you right now? As I actually do have first things first on in the background. Nick Wright doing his tiers list heading into week 6, and he's got the Vikings on the same level as the Commanders, and he's got the Packers, Lions, and Bills all ahead of him. And I'm guessing the Texans here next, as they aren't released yet. I wonder if Nick Wright knows that the Vikings have beat the Packers, the Texans, and they did not trail for a single second in either of those games. It's just, the Vikings are going to get disrespected until they hoist that Lombardi trophy. But that's also what I would want. I wouldn't want all these media heads completely getting all in on this Vikings team, and they're saying, oh, this team's legit, they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'd rather be doubted, than favored heading into these matchups. But, man, I can't wait for that Lions game, Week 7. If you guys have a chance to go to that game, I actually have a great sponsor to tell you guys about. If you guys want to get tickets to the Lions-Vikings game, download the Game Time app. And if you guys use promo code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, you guys will get $20 off your first purchase. Right now, tickets are expensive. The cheapest ticket I'm seeing is around $315. But if you guys want to get $20 off, you use the app Game Time and plug in promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, to get $20 off your first purchase. Now, I also do want to tell you guys about another sponsor we have on today's show, and that is PrizePicks. If you guys download the PrizePicks app and use promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly when you play just $5. Now, PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. If you guys want to add more juice to your viewing experience, PrizePicks is the way to go. I already got a lineup for this week's Thursday night football matchup where I'm taking the less on Brandon Ayuk receiving yards, taking the more for Debo, and then I got DK finding the end zone at more than half a rushing or receiving touchdowns. But if you guys want to fade those picks or ride with those picks, I just hope you guys do so at PrizePicks and get $50 instantly when you plug in promo code CLNS. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, you guys got to be honest with me here. I hate asking this question, but do the Detroit Lions scare you? With them being the next matchup for the Minnesota Vikings, Week 7 in US Bank Stadium, I think they're the biggest competition for the Vikings in terms of who is the biggest roadblock to the Vikings reaching the Super Bowl. Because right now the Vikings have the 3rd best odds to win the NFC. They're 4th in points per game in terms of defense. They're 2nd in rush yards per game, 2nd in sacks, 1st in pressures at 94, which is ridiculous. And they also have 13 takeaways. This is a Super Bowl level defense. And, yes, the Lions, if the Lions beat the Vikings, I think it's going to come down to the run game. And I know the Vikings have been fantastic stopping the run, 2nd in the league, not giving up more than 70 yards per game. But I think if the Lions are able to get downhill, get in those third and short situations, they go play action. They got Amon-Ra, they got Sam Laporta, they got all types of weapons. Then maybe the Vikings will be playing on their heels instead of playing on their toes, which, that aspect does scare me about the Detroit Lions. But what up, Eric? Thanks so much for joining us. Tracy saying, yeah, don't trade first-round picks. I'll give you guys my thoughts on that here in a little bit. I obviously know the Vikings have very limited draft capital, but I wouldn't hate them going all in on a guy like Jeffery Simmons. But also this fun fact, the Vikings scoring 23 or more points, they have done that all 5 times. That's first in the NFL. And then allowing 17 or fewer points, the Vikings have done that 4 times, which is also first in the NFL. They are a very good football team. They're still getting disrespected. And, we're going to talk about Nick Wright disrespecting Sam Darnold here in a little bit. But I'm going to ask you guys this question. Let's kick it back to our Vikings team. Who is the best player on the Vikings? You can't say Justin Jefferson because I think that's undisputed, but I think the second best player is up for debate. I would go Christian Darrisaw. He's had a fantastic year. He's at a premium position at left tackle, but you could also go Van Ginkel, as I got Eric and Jay's Gaming Station saying Van Ginkel in the chat. Like, you could go Gink. I don't know. I would probably go Darrisaw. I think I would lean Darrisaw, but Skullpats, go Rocky, Skullpat Dad saying TJ Hawkinson. Shout out to you, man. That's hilarious. Dan Johnson saying Will Reichard. I don't hate the Will Reichard poll on this question whatsoever. What about J.A., Jordan Addison? We're actually going to talk about Jordan Addison today, as I think he needs to be a bigger focal point in the offense moving past the bye week. So you guys are going with Van Ginkel. I'm probably still going to go Darrisaw. I think us as fans, like we see the pick sixes with Van Ginkel, we really see his impact. But, Christian Darrisaw, we haven't heard from him all year. And I think that is a great thing. That's a fire graphic text. Shout out to you. Aaron Shields saying Blake Brandel has been playing out of his mind. Yeah, Blake Brandel has been great. He actually struggled against the Jets just a little bit, but not really too concerned. Rocky going Aaron Jones in the chat. Yeah, I could see people going Aaron Jones as well. We'll actually talk about Darnold's numbers with Aaron Jones on and off the field, as there are some discrepancies there, as he just doesn't play, up to the standard of a Super Bowl potential winning quarterback when Jones is off the field. But yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. Jackson saying Cashman. Cashman's been awesome, man. No love for Pace. I mean, Ivan Pace, the thing is, like, he is definitely a great football player, but I don't think he's a second best player on this team. Like, I think he's probably around that 8 to 12 range. I'd probably do it. If I had to power rank him right now, I think number 1, Jefferson. Number 2, Darrisaw. Number 3, I would probably go Van Ginkel. 4, I would go Grenard. 5, I would go Cashman. 6, I would honestly probably go Metellus. 7, probably Brian O'Neill. 8, Hawkinson. 9, Addison. 10, like, Ivan Pace, and you got Harrison Smith. Like, this Vikings team is absolutely effing loaded, guys. Like, pretty much point being is, besides Jefferson, you got guys, like about 5 or 6 of them that can make an argument for the second best player on that team. No doubt about it. But, yeah, that's all good. Hey, Patrick, guess what? Overtime, they can double JJ all season with weapons back on the field. TJ Jets, Addison Naylor, Ty Chandler, Munt. Yeah, I'm with you, DeMarcio. That looks fresh. Appreciate your text. Bynum too. I forgot about Cam Bynum and Mac. Like, he's got to be in the conversation as the best player on the Vikings besides Jefferson. Same with Stephon Gilmore, DDD, PPP in the chat. Yeah, that's a tough one, guys. This is a tough answer to this question, but I would probably go Darrisaw, then I'll go Van Ginkel as an honorable mention. But we are getting into a mailbag in about 40 minutes or so. So if you guys want to ask me any questions, use hashtag Vikings in the live chat. It helps our software pull it. So just hashtag Vikings. Or if you guys send in a super chat, that's another great way to get on the show. Super chats also go a very long way here at Chat Sports. But if you guys just want to get your question up on screen, you guys can send in a super chat. We'll get it up there automatically. But if you guys also want to take a chance of getting your question up there, hashtag Vikings. We'll do this mailbag in about 40 minutes or so. Yeah, I'd appreciate it. What up, Harvey? Saying Skull Vikings. Harvey, I'm shipping out your Eric Kendricks jersey tomorrow, just a heads up. Rocky saying undefeated with Tex producing. He makes the list. Yeah, maybe Skull Tex might have to be the second best player on the Vikings. Tex could make a good argument. I'm not going to lie. Like, Tex has a case to be made. Yes, it did. But not this channel. That's where I'll get, yeah. Anthony saying, no, the Detroit Lions don't scare me at all. Jay saying, do you think J.A. is the future GOAT wide receiver? I don't know about GOAT wide receiver. I think he'd be a GOAT wide receiver too. You're playing against next to a guy like Jefferson, no doubt. But, what we're getting into on today's show, we're going to start off with some trade targets. Who the Vikings could potentially go all in for. I got a running back. I got some defensive linemen. I got a corner they could possibly, trade for. And then I do want to get into some bye week changes. Obviously with this team 5-0, there's not a whole lot they can do, but I do think there are certain players who I think should be involved more. Maybe they could go add a running back during the bye week. So, we'll talk about that. And then obviously our guy, Nick Wright, first things first. He put out his quarterback tiers list, and he thinks Sam Darnold is still the same guy. He thinks he's on pumpkin watch, so we'll talk about that. But if you guys are ready to go, hit that thumbs up icon, like today's video. We're at 43 likes right now. Once we get to 50 likes, we'll get underway. I love that. Yeah, the purple thumbs up. That's sick. Woo. Hit that thumbs up icon if you guys are ready to go. 44 likes. Once we get to 50, we'll talk about some trade targets. I kind of want Kwesi to take a stance of almost F them picks this year. You got a very good football team. Might as well take advantage, because I think us as NFL fans, and I fell victim to this week where I was like, man, the Vikings Super Bowl window might be 5 years. But truly, we never know how short or long a Super Bowl window is, and I always think it's shorter. I think we need to if you think the Vikings Super Bowl window is 3 years starting right now, cut it to 2. You never want to be looking back playoff time and you're like, man, we should have made that move. We should have did this, should have did that. So I think the Vikes should, maybe not go all in at the deadline since they do have limited draft capital, but go make a move. Go get a blue chipper defensively. We'll talk about Jeffery Simmons here, who is, in my opinion, the number 1 trade target for the Vikings. But shout out to Purple Filth, Wacky, Rocky getting a question in there. Harvey saying we need offensive linemen. Harvey, I think we might already have an offensive lineman that could start. We'll also talk about that in the bye week changes because Ed Ingram, yet again, stinks, and I think Dalton Reisner might have to step in there and start at right guard. But, we're up to 73 likes. I appreciate you guys, but you guys ready to dive into it? Some trade targets around the Vikings? Let's do it. Could the Minnesota Vikings be going all in at this year's NBA trade deadline? NFL, let's just start that over, man. You guys are seeing how it's made behind the scenes. Yeah. Let's just do that again. Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Could the Minnesota Vikings be going all in at this year's NFL trade deadline? That's what we're going to be talking about on today's show. My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome in. But I want to get the pulse of the fan base before we dive into it. Do you guys want the Vikings to make a move at this year's NFL trade deadline? If you want them to make a move, hit that thumbs up icon. But if you disagree, and maybe you're thinking with the limited draft capital this team has, maybe you want them to just stay put and not make a big-time move. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. But if you guys do want the Vikes to make a massive move this year, hit that thumbs up icon. So we got to start off with the cap space situation. So right now, where the Vikings stand, they have $14.2 million left in cap space this year. That ranks 14th in the NFL. And also, you look at the draft capital. Right now, they only have a first, 2 fifths, and a conditional 7th from the Jaguars. So they actually do have 4 picks in next year's draft. They still have all of them for 2026. So they do have draft capital to spend, but you also got to consider the cap space. And I do want to make this point before we start off. You have a special season on your hands. Let's just call a spade a spade. The Vikings, I know it sounds crazy. They could win the Super Bowl this year. Don't take that for granted. Don't just look past that, and don't waste it at this year's NFL trade deadline. And, I think people, we all think about the Vikings Super Bowl window, and maybe we think it's a lot bigger than it actually is. You don't want to waste a year where you just went through the hardest part of your schedule. You go undefeated. You haven't trailed since about the midway through the first quarter against the Giants. Go take advantage. And Kwesi, I want you to live by this mindset. F them picks. There is no player you're going to draft next year in the first round that will be as impactful as you trading for a blue chipper like Jeffery Simmons, who was my first trade target for the Minnesota Vikings. So Jeffery Simmons comes in, 27 years old, elite defensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans. And, in my opinion, he is my number 1 trade target right now. He's at a premium position. And, I like what Harrison Phillips has done. I like what Jonathan Bullard has done this year. But you don't have a true blue chipper at that position. Now, I will say this. The Vikings would need to restructure some contracts if they want to make this work for this season. So I'm looking at maybe a guy like TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, Christian Darrisaw, guys who signed deals this offseason. Maybe they backload more of their money, lower their cap hit for the rest of the season, and you're able to take on the $21.6 million. But the best part about Simmons, and why I would give up a first-round pick for him, is he is on the books for the next 4 years. So you could have a core nucleus of Simmons, Van Ginkel, Grenard, Cashman, Pace. I mean, Metellus. Hopefully Cam Bynum gets extended. Like, we are going to have an elite defense for the next 5 years if you go trade for this man. And this man has been a dog in the NFL over the last 4 years. He is that prototypical nose tackle that will force other teams to double team him. They'll open up pass rush lanes. They'll open up lanes for linebackers. And the sack numbers are fantastic. And he's actually been fairly healthy throughout his NFL career. Obviously only played 12 games last year, but I mean, look at the sack total: 8.5, 7.5, 5.5. He already has a sack this season in 3 games. Like, he is truly, truly a fantastic player. That's why he's my number 1 trade target for this team. But number 2, this is a very, say unlikely option, but this is a move where if we get a terrible report where it's like, oh, Aaron Jones is going to have to miss multiple months, maybe you go look at a guy like Nick Chubb, who is coming off that torn ACL, but he still is only 28 years old. And that, I think Chubb's probably got 1 or 2 more years of playing at a top 5 level in the league. But his contract, you would only have to pay him for 1 more year. So, again, I don't know how much draft capital the Vikings would want to give up, but I'll make this point. I do think this is extremely unlikely. I don't think the Browns would want to move off him. However, if the Vikings offer a deal that the Browns can't refuse, and with them being 1-4 to start the season, I think they could be looking to move off a guy like Chubb, get whatever draft capital they can. And you remember that impact that Christian McCaffrey had on the San Francisco 49ers last season. I think Chubb could have that same impact on the Vikings. Now, this is also only if Aaron Jones is going to have to miss significant time. But could you imagine Chubb, Hawk, Addison, Jefferson, the 2 great tackles? I mean, you would be kind of creating a new version of the San Francisco 49ers, plus that stellar defense, plus that stellar coaching staff. Like, this would be a Super Bowl level move. But let's kick it to another defensive lineman. I'm going to go with Quinnen Williams here. Now, again, these are bold takes. These are bold predictions and bold trade targets. And I'm not saying the Jets would want to move Quinnen, but this guy, similar to Jeffery Simmons, I'd go all in on him. And I'll make this point. What if the Jets implode? They just fired Saleh. What if Rodgers goes down for a couple months and this season is just a throwaway for the Jets? And they're saying, man, we already put ourselves behind the 8 ball with the whole Rodgers shenanigans. Maybe we want to go get whatever draft capital we can. And if the Vikings are offering a first-round pick and maybe a future second and a third, I could see New York, being open to the idea. But, Quinnen, he's awesome. We saw it last week. He dominated that football game. He was a big reason why the Vikings weren't able to run the football in the second half. But he has been healthy, playing in 16 games in 21, 16 and 22, 17 games last year. Really the same, mold of a Jeffery Simmons and a Dexter Lawrence, who I know Vikings fans want. And his contract, I love it. Again, you would have to restructure some deals to make that $20 million cap hit work for this season, but 21 and 25, $26 million in 2026. Yes, that $30 million cap hit in 27 is huge, but I would be okay with the Vikings having Jefferson, Darrisaw, Quinnen Williams as kind of their big 3 cap hits for that year in 27. I wouldn't hate it. So, again, this is the unlikely choice. He would still be up there for me. But, man, Jeffery Simmons would be still my number 1 choice. And I think it's the most likely one that could be on the trade block. But let's kick it to a running back, again, who is a more likely player that could be dealt. And that's going to be Dameon Pierce. Now, he is only 24 years old. And with the Texans signing Joe Mixon, Cam Akers this offseason, he's really been flushed out of the rotation there in Houston. And, he's coming off 2 really bad years. So the Vikings could view this as a buy low. You want to be able to sell high, but you buy low on a running back who's got a lot of potential. And, 2023, he struggled. But in the 2022 season, he was fantastic, man. He was running for over 4 yards per carry. He was that true workhorse in Houston. But this year, he's only got 3 carries, so I could see the Houston Texans, potentially taking him for a 7th-round pick. But, let's just say he misses week 7 versus the Lions, and he's back week 8 on a short week versus the Rams. Ty Chandler is the best internal option for this football team. And I was saying on the show recently that I don't think Ty can be a true RB1. However, I will say this. If it's just for a game or two where you're just saying, hey, Aaron Jones is coming back week 9 even, I am fine with rolling with Ty, Gaskin, and maybe you sign a guy off a practice squad and you roll with those guys as your true running back core for the next couple of weeks. You let Aaron Jones, recover from that injury. But, Ty, I thought he's been pretty good this year, even though the yards per carry aren't going to blow you away. But he's kind of been dealt a bad position. Whenever the Vikings are trying to run the ball with Ty, I feel like the run blocking's not as good as it is for Jones. And, I'm still a believer in him. And obviously that fumble last week versus the Jets, it just bounced off his nameplate. I'm not too worried about that. But I still have faith in Ty Chandler as being a good RB1 for just a couple weeks. But again, this comes down to the length of the Aaron Jones injury. If this is longer, if this is, let's just say, 2-3 months and Jones might not be back for the playoffs, then the Vikings need to make a move to that position. But I'll ask you guys this. Be honest with me. Do you trust Ty Chandler as an RB1? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down below in the comment section. I'm going to make this a pinned comment on today's show because I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say. But let me know. Y for yes, N for no if you trust Ty Chandler to be RB1 for the Minnesota Vikings. Now we'll dive into actually 2 more trade targets. We have a fun one for you guys here in a sec. But first off, I want to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Game Time. And if you guys download the Game Time app and use promo code ChatSports, you guys will get hooked up with $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again, but download the Game Time app. Use promo code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. And with the Detroit Lions coming to town Week 7 versus the Minnesota Vikings, tickets are expensive, and if you guys want to make them more manageable, Game Time is a great way to do so. Just plug in that promo code on your first purchase, CHATSPORTS, and you guys will get $20 off. And they also have a new feature called Game Time Picks. I actually just got tickets to go see the Chicago Blackhawks and Dallas Stars play in a couple of weeks in Dallas. So I used the Game Time app, used promo code ChatSports, was able to get $20 off. And my favorite view is the views from your seat feature. It gets you a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you even buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, last trade target, or actually we have an honorable mention here in a second, but second to last trade target, I'm going to go J.C. Horn here. So J.C. Horn, 24 years old, with the Carolina Panthers, has really had a good season for them so far. Young and up-and-coming corner, and my argument on trading for J.C. Horn would be that Gilmore, Murphy, and Shaq Griffin are all on one-year deals. So I expect, even if they don't trade for a guy, I expect the Vikings to be aggressive in that cornerback market next offseason. But why not get it out of the way now? And this is a guy who's been good for the Carolina Panthers. PFF grades him out as a 65.6 overall grade. Good in the run defense, good tackler, has some TFLs on the year. They can also blitz him off the edge. As we know, Brian Flores, he loves versatility. J.C. Horn is that. And then in coverage, he's been pretty solid as well, 65.5 grade. But how do the coverage stats look? He's been targeted 23 times this season, but he's only allowed 12 receptions that have only gone for 147 yards. And he's only, 1 touchdown allowed. And he's also got 1 pick, 3 pass breakups. He has been awesome. And, where he would fit in this year, I'm not too sure. I don't know if he would play over Shaq Griffin because Shaq Griffin's had an awesome start to this season. But I think this would just give the Vikings depth moving forward. And, Carolina with their slow start and their limited draft capital still hurting from that Chicago Bears trade. Maybe they try to get another first-round pick. Also, key point here, the Panthers, they're probably going to try to draft a quarterback next season. So if the Vikings, they want to throw him more draft capital to help them trade up, I could see that being the situation as well. But I like all 5 of those guys. And I do have an honorable mention for you. This would be a lower tier option. You wouldn't be giving up a first for this guy. You'd probably give up a third, maybe a later day 3 pick. But I got Sebastian Joseph Day. He's had a really good start to the season, 12 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 TFLs. He would just be another guy to add more depth to that defensive line, which I do think the Vikings could need. But if I had to pick any position to trade for at this year's NFL trade deadline, it would be defensive tackle. No doubt about it. Like, if you could get a blue chipper there, I mean, it would take this defense from, in my opinion, being the best in the National Football League to being one of the best over the last century. Like, I would put them up there with the 2000 Ravens. they would be up there with the 2019 Patriots. Like, they have so much talent and a great defensive coordinator. If you go get a blue chipper at the D-line, we are talking, again, we're talking Super Bowl here on the channel. But, overall, I do think Kwesi makes a big-time move. We saw him be aggressive a couple trade deadlines ago, going out and getting TJ Hawkinson, where we didn't really hear any reports about that being possible. So I don't know if it's a Jeffery Simmons. I don't know if it's a JC Horn, but I do expect Kwesi to get active in the trade market. But you guys let me know. Name a player you want the Vikings to trade for down below in the comment section. If I had to pick one, I'm going Jeffery Simmons, but you guys let me know your thoughts down below. And if you guys want to give me a follow on Twitter, there it is, at Pat Sieps. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes. All right, you guys let me know. Name a player the Vikings should trade for. Handcraft saying Ty is a good back. Yeah, I'm with you. I think Ty Chandler is a good back. No doubt. Eric saying Alaric Jackson. Z Cool, what up, Z? How you doing? Yo. Yeah. Yeah, we can just get that going. Yeah, if you guys got a question for me, use hashtag Vikings in the live chat, or you guys can super chat to get up on today's show. Really goes a far way here if you guys do want to contribute to our Vikings Now channels. Was Zazy saying Dexter? Yeah, I want Dexter Lawrence too. It's just the Giants aren't trading him. In my opinion, I think Dexter Lawrence is the second best defensive player in the league behind maybe Fred Warner, TJ Watt. He is definitely in that big three. I mean, the man's an interior defensive lineman, and I think he's a half sack off the league lead in that department. Two-Face saying give Gaskin some more run. Yeah, I wouldn't hate Gaskin. That's why if Jones only has to miss a week or two, like, I'm cool with you running Gaskin and Ty Chandler. But if Jones were to have to miss more time, we're still finding out, like, what his exact injury is. Kevin O'Connell still said he avoided major injury, but he is week to week. So if he's going to have to miss, 2-3 games after the bye, I'm cool with that. But if that gets up to 6, 7, 8 games, then I want the Vikes to bring in another back. As Z Cool is saying, is Adrian Peterson still available? Z Cool, he is available, but the Vikings will not be bringing him in. I promise you that. Kevin Montgomery saying, get Frank Gore Jr. off the practice squad. Yeah, they could do that. We talked about Gore yesterday. You could just poach him off the Bills practice squad right now. Harvey saying, could Chuba Hubbard, Panthers RB, be a target? I think the Panthers running back that could be a target would be Miles Sanders. I don't think they're going to move off him as Lyle Wilson saying ETN. ETN's another option. Like, with Tank Bigsby really emerging as the true RB1 there in Jacksonville, maybe they could try to get a third for him. I wouldn't hate that. But again, if I'm trading for a running back, that means Aaron Jones is missing significant time. But if he's just week to week and he'll be back, then I'm not really trading for a back. And Max saying Ramondre Stevenson. You said what? Oh, yeah. Ramondre, I would be in, but I don't know if the Pats are dealing him. But, again, we'll see. Two-Face, I saw a couple roll in. Yeah. Buckner would be a good option if the Colts keep losing. Don't hate that whatsoever. CMC's equal. That's a bold one. That's a bold one. But we are going to dive into some bye week changes that I got for the Minnesota Vikings. Even though they're 5-0, we got a Super Bowl expectation here in Minnesota now. So, they could definitely get better in some spots of the game, which we will talk about. If you go to the bowl, will Vikings bring in AP, Thielen, or Rhodes? Only one that would be Thielen. Rhodes, I actually was trying to get Rhodes on the show. I DM'd his agent, but he hasn't gotten back to me. It's Rhodes. I think he was on some other podcast recently. So, yeah. Z Cool is saying the shots you miss is the ones you don't take. I'm with you. Vikings got a good chance this year to make something special of this season. Might as well take advantage of it, man. Vikings saying hi. What up, Vikings? Nikki J. Ward saying Montgomery. Don't think the Lions are going to give you Montgomery whatsoever. Rhodes DM closed. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I thought it would be cool to get Rhodes on the show just because he's such a smart football mind to just hear him talk about this defense. And, I really wanted to get his insight on what this team is really doing schematically defensively, because I think that's been the story of the league, is how different this defense is. Zeke Cool saying, I believe in our brass. They will make the best moves they can. 100%. I mean, if you look at this past offseason, they have been awesome, man. Like, awesome. Handcraft Film, shout out. So, no. Can you guess the Vikings' record for the end of the season? 14-3. My biggest trap game is actually the Rams game on Thursday night. Short week. They're going to be getting healthy with Kupp and Nakua back probably by then. So, we'll see. We'll see. But let's dive into some bye week changes that the Vikings can make right now. Yeah. Could the Minnesota Vikings be making some changes during the bye week? Now, I understand they started off 5-0. So most people would say they don't need to change anything, but we have a Super Bowl expectation here in Minnesota. So you got to try to get better on the margins, because once January and February roll around, we could be looking back as a couple of, missteps for this Vikings team despite the 5-0 start. But welcome in, guys. My name is Patrick Siepman. And before we dive into it, if you guys could help us reach 36,000 subscribers here on the channel, we just need 375 more of you guys to hit that sub button. So if you guys are new here and have not subscribed to our show, I would really appreciate it. And plus, I would love to hit 36K before the Lions game next week. So hit that subscribe button if you guys haven't already. All right, number one. What's my number one bye week change that the Vikings need to make? You got to bench Ed Ingram. I wanted to make this show a couple weeks ago after his poor performance versus the New York Giants, but I gave him a chance. He bounced back. He played decent in a couple of games, but this past week he was awful versus the New York Jets. And we can just throw up his PFF grades right now. Like, they're terrible. The pass block grade's awful, 29.4. Overall, 52.7. Run blocking, I will give him credit. He is a better run blocker than people give him credit for. But pass blocking, he gets ragdolled consistently. And, I think with where the Vikings are going, you may be saying, why would they bench Ed Ingram? Who's going to step in behind him and play? Why not Dalton Risner? Like, you signed him for a reason. He is still 29 years old. He's a veteran. He's a smart offensive lineman, and he is eligible to return off PUP. And I wouldn't hate, with a good Lions front seven coming to town, you roll out Risner. But I will say this. Actually, I'll get to this in a second. But I do want to show you guys Risner's PFF grades. 57.1 overall last year. Pass block, fantastic. 67.4. I'll take that from an interior offensive lineman. Run block, 50 overall grade. So even though Ingram is slightly better in the run blocking department, it's not that dramatic fall off where there is a dramatic fall off with Ingram in terms of the pass blocking compared to Risner. But this is where I stand right now on Ingram. He gets one more chance versus the Detroit Lions. They got a good front seven. Aiden Hutchinson's going to be really pinning his ears back, and they might line Hutchinson up over Ingram, just knowing that's the weak point on this offensive line. So I'm giving Ingram one more chance. If he plays terrible again, you have to go with the Dalton Risner. But let's get to number two. This is not really a change. This is just something that needs to happen. The Vikings need to get healthy. And, obviously they're not as beat up as other teams, but you got some big-time injuries to some big-time players. So Sam Darnold, he has taken some brutal hits over the last couple of weeks. And, I think people, they talk about Darnold and him struggling without Aaron Jones in the lineup, and we'll talk about that. But I think that hit that he took to the ribs in the first half was the biggest reason why he struggled. And you also got T.J. Hockenson battling back from that torn ACL. He should be back week 7, feeling 100%. Then obviously Aaron Jones dealing with that hip injury, giving him that bye week. And really, I'm normally not the biggest fan of the early bye, but for the Vikings situation, I actually kind of like it. And, getting Hawk back this week versus the Lions is going to be awesome. He struggled at the beginning of the year last year. He had some drop issues, but, was really able to turn it around, got over 95 receptions, 960 yards, found the end zone 5 times, and he should have been a 100,000 guy if he stayed healthy before Kirby Joseph, that dirty MFer, took out his knee. But, you're also hoping to get Aaron Jones back eventually, and Aaron Jones has been awesome this year. His advanced stats really show that. Missed tackles 4, 16, 10-plus yard runs 9. Rushing yards over expected, plus 41, and rushing yards over expected per attempt is at plus half a yard. And plus, he has been getting 8-man boxes, which ranks 8th in the NFL, 26.7% of the time. Aaron Jones, he has been awesome. Getting him back will be very, very key for this offense. And just overall getting Sam Darnold healthy, getting T.J. Hockenson back in the lineup. Like, the fact the Vikings are able to go 5-0 with their toughest part of the schedule while battling injuries. I mean, even a guy like Jordan Addison, giving him another week to heal up that ankle. Like, getting healthy is the number one change I would make this bye week, because this team, once they got all 53 people there, I mean, they are very, very dangerous. But if you guys want the Vikes to get healthy, don't jinx us. Hit that thumbs up icon. I'd really appreciate it. Let's see if we can get 400, 500 likes on today's show. If you guys could do that, that would be awesome. But number 3 for me, get Jordan Addison more touches. So, that has been my biggest gripe with the offense. Not the, lackadaisical turnovers. Like, that's going to happen. But getting Addison the ball more has to be a point of emphasis during the bye week. And the fact that he has played in 3 games and has under 150 yards, I just don't think the Vikings are utilizing his talents as much as they should be. And he is a deep play or a big play threat, like going over 15.6 yards or 0.9 yards per catch. Found the end zone 2 times, 1 throughout the air, 1 on the ground. But, the thing is with Addison, he's just too talented not to get more touches. Like, I understand I love Naylor. I love even when Hawkinson's coming back. But there's no doubt in my mind that Jordan Addison should be the 2nd yard leader and the 2nd reception leader for this Vikings football team. The guy's too talented. Like, Jordan Addison, I was talking about him potentially being a 100-catch, 1,000-yard guy heading into the year since he did that his rookie season. Get him more looks. Get him more involved in this offense. Maybe you use him like Jefferson. Put him in the backfield. That would throw defenses for a loop. Just find creative ways, and I'm sure KOC will do that. So, if I'm in that Vikings meeting room and I'm in that coaching, those meetings that they do every week, I am saying you are getting number 3 the football more than you have. And, I see it in our live chat right now. He was a first-round pick for a reason. Get him the football. Now, we'll talk about 2 more changes I want this team to make here in just a second. But first off, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best way to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. If you guys plug in promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly when you play just $5. Best part is you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Now, Thursday Night Football, this was a lineup I cooked up. I took the less on IU receiving yards, more on Debo's receiving yards, and I got DK finding the end zone. If you guys want to fade those picks, ride with those picks, just do it at PrizePicks. It is the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. And if you guys use promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. They also offer weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, where each Tuesday PrizePicks discounts a selected player projection up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. So download the app today, plug in that promo code, and get hooked up with $50 instantly. Number 4 for me, this is add another running back. And, this is only if we get a report Aaron Jones is going to have to miss multiple months. That's the only way I'm making a move. That's the only way I'm hitting the trade market because these stats are staggering. So this is Sam Darnold this season with Aaron Jones on the field compared to off the field. So on the right side of your screen, it's Aaron Jones when he is off the field, and those are Sam Darnold stats, and the left side of the screen when he's on the field. So completion percentage, that dips down by about 17%. The yards per pass, that dips down a lot. The touchdown to interception ratio, that dips down. And then the passer rating dips down by almost 50 points. So clearly, Aaron Jones' impact is not only in the running game, but he offers Sam Darnold almost an insurance, option on these plays. Either hit him on the check down or just have a guy where, maybe the run blocking is not setting up so well and it's supposed to be a 3-yard loss. Aaron Jones has done a great job of making the most out of every single play. Now, you could ride with Ty Chandler, which is what I would do. Even if Jones would have to miss the Lions and Rams game and he's not back before week 9, I'm still more than comfortable riding with Ty Chandler, Gaskin, just having those guys get the carries. But let's just say, there's nobody on the trade block that you really want to go all in for. What about a free agent option? How about Latavius Murray? Now, this is a guy who I would bring in even if Aaron Jones says, hey, I'm playing week 7 versus the Lions. I would bring him in because the Vikings still don't have that physical goal line back. And even though Latavius is 34 years old, I still think he can get it done on those 5-and-in situations at a very, very high level. Even last year, he still found the end zone 4 times. That's his bread and butter. That's his calling card. And plus, I would love to get the choo-choo Latavius train celebration back in U.S. Bank Stadium. But last one for me, stay locked in. Bye week is here. You're 5-0. All the fans are talking Super Bowl. I'm talking Super Bowl. Stay locked in because the game you have after the bye week is oh so very important. This is game of the year versus Detroit. Not only does this have NFC North implications, But this will have #1 seed in the NFC impact. Now, I think the Week 18 game, if I had to go early prediction, Vikings at Detroit, I think that game is going to be either for the #1 seed or the first wild card spot. I think, the NFC North will run away with this conference. I think whoever wins this division will get the first seed in this, conference. And I think, this is a great start because if you lose to Detroit today, you're putting so much more pressure on yourself Week 18 in Detroit. But if you beat Detroit, you can kind of give yourself some grace period. And, honestly, if the Vikings beat the Lions this weekend, they should get the first seed. We should have a bye, and we should just only have to win 2 home playoff games to go to the damn Super Bowl. So, stay locked in. You're going to be getting a lot of praise over the next 10 days, but that does not matter because we can look back at 2016. Vikings were 5-0. Heading into that bye week, what happened? They finished the season 8-8. They lost the next 3 of 11 games, or next 8 of 11 games. So stay locked in. Don't miss a thing. Don't miss a beat. And if you guys want the Vikes to beat the Lions next weekend, give me a skull down below in the comments section. Already getting started here early, but if you guys want the Vikings to move to 6-0 on the season, type skull down below. I am on Twitter tweeting about the Vikes all season long, trying to hit 1,000 followers. So if you guys want to give me a follow over there, that's the handle. See you guys next time. As always, Skull Vikes. Alrighty, appreciate it, guys. Purple Filth with Zazy, countrywide. Shout out to you. Tim Lindsay saying this is game of our season. Gotta have it. I'm with you. Two-Face as well saying Skull. Coley, Jack Vaughn in the building. What up? What up? What up? What up? Shout out to you guys. Did have some super chats roll in. We appreciate you. My man Z Cool and Lefty in the building. Silent saying Vikings schedule is soft after the bye. Yeah, I mean, there's still some tough games, but it's not nearly as bad as the stretch we just had over the last 4 weeks. But Z Cool coming in saying, what topics would you address if you were KOC during this bye week? I guess that segment kind of answered it for you, but #1 thing for me is I would get Jordan Addison the ball more. Like, if I am Kevin O'Connell, I am sitting down with Addison, Jefferson, and Darnold, and I am saying, how can we get #3 more touches? Because, one, that's going to make the life of #18 a whole lot more easier. And, plus it's Jordan Addison. Dude was a first-round pick for an effing reason. Like, get him the football. Yeah. Definitely. And then Lefty coming in saying, pluck Dalvin Cook off the Cowboys practice squad, cheapest option, but Latavius Murray isn't a bad choice either. Yeah, I would lean Latavius since, I mean, Dalvin Cook is necessarily a poor man's Aaron Jones in terms of the style of running back that they are. So I would lean Latavius over Dalvin, but I don't know. I haven't seen Dalvin in about a year and a half. Maybe he's got more juice, but I think there's a reason with the Cowboys running back situation being Rico Dowell and Zeke Elliott that Dalvin's still on the practice squad, and they see him every day in practice. So, Lefty, I appreciate your contributions to the channel, but I would definitely go with Latavius over Dalvin Cook. But we will be getting into a mailbag on the second half of this next segment. If you guys got a question, use hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get up on the show. Would really appreciate it. It's just hashtag Vikings in the live chat. Get that question in there, and then we will get your question up on the show. But if you guys also want to guarantee your spot, Super Chatting is a great way to do so. Yeah, we do have a lot of questions in there. So if you guys want to guarantee your spot, Super Chatting. I'm actually going to put this cut out right after our live show. So, yeah. That'd be great. Yeah. 12 to 14. Yeah. I appreciate you guys, everybody tuning in. Nick Wright disrespecting Sam Darnold. We're going to talk about that here in a second. It's good old first things first. It's incredible.
They hate us because they ain't us.
Hate us because they ain't us, baby. Let's go. That does. No. Appreciate you guys getting those questions in there. Yeah. I appreciate you guys. We got a lot of questions in the clip right now, so if you guys want to guarantee your spot, Super Chatting, just contribute $5. We'll get your question up on screen. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yes, sir. Coley saying, brother, you know your sheet Man, love it. Shout out to you, man. Appreciate it. William saying, yeah, I don't like the Vikings stay aggressive after the half. Can lead. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, Z cool or $10. You guys can do whatever you want. We need to bring back Kane for kick return reasons. Don't hate that. Dwayne, Sam is the right choice. Yes, sir. All right, but we're going to dive into it. Nick Wright disrespects Sam Darnold. Also mailbag on the second half of today's show. Just want to get you guys the information of what Nick Wright is, talking about on First Things First. So, Wazazy, shout out to you, man. All right. If you ready to go text, let's dive into it. Let's do it. Nick Wright of First Things First keeps on disrespecting the Minnesota Vikings, and more specifically, he's disrespecting Sam Darnold. So he puts out a quarterback's rankings kind of tier. He calls it Mahomes Mountain since Mahomes sits at the top. But Nick Wright, he had Sam Darnold all the way down here, and he actually dropped him on his tiers list after this last performance. But before we dive into that, guys, if you guys believe in Sam Darnold, like today's video. A lot of big media heads are putting Darnold on pumpkin watch, saying that he is going to eventually implode and this Vikings team is going to fall off a cliff. I disagree. If you guys agree with me and disagree with Nick Wright here and you believe in Sam Darnold, hit that thumbs up icon. All right, let's talk about it. So this was the Mahomes Mountain that Nick Wright put out there. He had Mahomes at the top, Lamar and Burrow on the second tier. Then he had Stroud, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Kirk Cousins, Baker, Goff, Dak, Geno, Stafford, Caleb, Kyler, Herbert, Love, Purdy, all ahead of Sam Darnold. Well, let's see what Nick Wright had to say. So he says, Sam Darnold, we are watching you, buddy. First off, don't disrespect Sam by calling him buddy. But he says, we are watching for pumpkin mode. It is a rich tapestry. Here is the thing. First of all, I'm a little worried about Sam Darnold. I think his pumpkin mode is going to be accelerated because of the injury to his running back. And then Nick Wright proceeded to put this graphic up on screen. It was Sam Darnold's stats with Aaron Jones on the field and with Aaron Jones off the field. And I understand that the numbers don't lie, that Sam Darnold is definitely a worse quarterback without his starting running back. But same with most quarterbacks in the league if you're not named Mahomes. Like if you took Derrick Henry off the Ravens, I guarantee you Lamar Jackson would struggle. But the stats don't lie. You guys see them. Like completion percentage drops, yards per pass, touchdown interceptions, passer rating. They all go down when Aaron Jones is off the field. But I get to this. The goalpost keeps moving. Like the man is 5-0, second in touchdowns in the entire league. Like if you would have told Nick Wright before the season that Sam Darnold was going to be 5-0, 11 touchdowns, he's got 4 interceptions, like you would have said that, or he would have probably said that, yeah, I would have him at the top of my mountain. But the goalpost keeps on moving. And we can show the list again. Like the fact that he has the stones to put Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray, and I understand Justin Herbert, I would take him over Sam Darnold. But if we're just looking off this year, Justin Herbert is nowhere near the level of player this year that Sam Darnold has been. I love Geno Smith, but you can make the same argument for him that you're making for Sam Darnold. And this is a guy who's 3-2. I just don't get it. Brock Purdy, he's got him ahead of him. Let's just look here real quick. Purdy, Love. Darnold beat both of them. Played great in both those games. C.J. Stroud, you got him all the way up here. He beat him as well. Obviously, quarterback wins is not the end-all, be-all when evaluating quarterbacks. But the real ones that bother me here is Caleb Williams, Kyler, and Geno. Like, Geno is the same thing. If you want to talk about rich tapestry, let's talk about Geno Smith. Before he got to Seattle, he was in the same position that Darnold was in. And Darnold this season has been awesome. Like the Vikings, this is the starting quarterback for a team. This is the starting quarterback that has led his team to averaging the 6th most points per game in the NFL without Addison for 2 games, without Hawkinson for all 5 games. You took Kelsey away from Mahomes. I guarantee you he would struggle way more than he has. Yards per pass, 5th. Passing touchdowns, tied for 2nd with Baker. Passer rating, 5th in the entire National Football League. And thinking about Nick Wright here, the diehard Chiefs fan he is, this is a thought I had, and this is a little bold prediction. What if the Minnesota Vikings and the Kansas City Chiefs square off in the Super Bowl? And what if the Chiefs rolling that game undefeated. They got a chance to be the first undefeated team in NFL history. They got a chance to be the first team ever to three-peat in the league. And could you imagine if Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings roll in there and they get a victory? We would have the whole nation on our side. All the fans, fans that aren't a fan of the Chiefs, they would all be pulling for the Vikes. I would love this. I think Darnold would hop in his Eli Manning bag in this game and beat Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. So that's my bold prediction. I don't think it's going to happen, but I was just thinking about it last night that, could you imagine if it's an undefeated Chiefs team trying to be the first team ever to go undefeated, first team ever to three-peat, and it's little old redhead Sam Darnold with a chance to stop that? I would love it. I would love it. But let's show Sam Darnold our support. Type his jersey number. Type those 14s down below in the comments section, as I think this dude could go undefeated in the regular season, and still these big media heads are going to disrespect him. And I just think they need to throw on the silent tape and really look at what he's done this season. But we'll dive into a mailbag here in a second. But before we get into it, if you guys could download the Game Time app, use promo code ChatSports, you guys will get $20 off your first purchase. So Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And with a big-time game against the Detroit Lions this next weekend in US Bank Stadium, tickets are over $300. If you guys want to make those a little more affordable and haven't used promo code ChatSports on your first purchase, get hooked up. You guys could get a free beer at the game necessarily with getting those $20 off. I also love the views from your seat feature, which gets you a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you even buy the ticket. So download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Let's kick it to Z Cool here. First question on today's show. Super chat. Shout out to Z. I appreciate you. Saying, what topics would you address if you were KOC during this bye week? So I think I would first off start with getting Jordan Addison the ball more. I think that's something they could do. You could also bench Ed Ingram. Again, I'm not saying the Vikings got to make drastic changes during the bye week, but if we want to win a Super Bowl here, you got to look at getting better on the margins and getting a guy like Addison the ball more. Maybe you bring in another running back if, Aaron Jones is out for multiple months. There are ways you can improve this roster even since you're 5-0. Just because you're 5-0 doesn't mean you have to settle. Be aggressive. You got the trade deadline coming up. You will have a chance to truly do something special this season. You can't get comfortable. You can't get complacent. So, Z Cool, I appreciate you, but I would start off by getting Jordan Addison the ball more. Lefty coming in with a 5 saying, pluck Dalvin Cook off the Cowboys practice squad. Cheapest option, but Latavius isn't a bad choice either. So out of Dalvin Cook and Latavius, I would lean Latavius Murray. I think he's a better goal line back in comparison to Dalvin Cook, where I think Dalvin Cook is honestly a poor man's Aaron Jones at this point. He doesn't have the same burst. He doesn't have the same jump cut ability. So I would lean Latavius, and I think there is a massive reason why Dalvin Cook is still on the practice squad. The Cowboys got Rico Dowell, Zeke Elliott. It's not like they got any big-time running backs. And the fact that Dalvin is still on that practice squad and they see him every day at practice, I think that kind of speaks to maybe how washed or cooked Dalvin Cook may actually be. But next question coming in from Purple Papa saying, can the Vikings go undefeated and win it all? They got a chance right now. I'll tell you what. You're undefeated. But no, that's not going to happen in the NFL. I think we've already seen it. The Vikings have, completely outplayed teams, and you still have a bad second half. And, the Niners almost got back in the football game. The Packers did. The Jets did. They all had chances to go win it late. So I just think eventually the Vikings, there'd be a fluky turnover. There'd be a fluky play where they would eventually lose the game. But I love your optimism, Purple Papa. I appreciate it. And Mac, what up? Saying getting an impactful would be awesome, but the Vikings haven't opened up Reisner's practice window. How about trading for an offensive guard? Yeah, they haven't opened up his practice window yet. I'm assuming they're going to do so next week, but I would like to bring in an offensive guard. Let's just say we get a report that Reisner's out for the year and Ed Ingram continues to struggle, then yeah, I would go try the trade for an interior offensive lineman, because I don't want it to come around where we're playing a game in late January, let's just say against the Niners or the Eagles or, one of these teams with an elite front seven. I would try to go get a big-time guard because I'm not going to be able to live with myself, or, I'm sure Kwesi or Kevin O'Connell won't, where it's like, oh, we're starting Ed Ingram. I don't know. I would definitely go make a move, but if I had to choose a player to trade for, it would be Jeffery Simmons. But Harvey Buxton coming in saying, what players would you consider trading away to get some capital? Great question, Harvey. Obviously them starting 5-0, I can't see them trading away anyone, but last year they traded away Ezra Cleveland, which was a bit of a shocker, who, funny enough, Ezra Cleveland is the number 1 rated pass blocking guard in the league right now. That drove me crazy once I saw that. But players they could trade away, I actually can't really think of any. Maybe Brian Asamoah. I could see maybe him for a 6th, but that's really about it, Harvey. But again, I appreciate you. Uru Kai saying Vikings Now by Chat Sports. The issue I see with analysts underappreciating this year's team, the past performances by the Vikings, they aren't the same team this year. I totally agree with you. Nick Wright, what we were talking about earlier on today's show, about Sam Darnold, he keeps telling a rich tapestry, saying that we got to go back and look at what Darnold's done in the past, or what this Vikings team has done in the past. He even tried to make an argument that the Minnesota Vikings with the Minnesota Vikings remind him of the Vikings team from 2022 when they had one of the worst defenses in the league. This is a completely different ball club. And, Nick Wright, he was disrespecting them. But, I think the Vikings are going to still shock people. Even power rankings have them at 2nd, 3rd in the league, which I would probably agree with. But you still got people who aren't taking them serious as a Super Bowl contender. And I think it gets back to the confetti test. Can you see Sam Darnold hoisting a Lombardi trophy? Personally, I can't. But I think it's one of those things you're not going to believe it can happen until it actually happens. But Richard Winter coming in saying, besides division opponents, which team do you think has the best chance of beating the Vikings this year? I'd probably go Rams on a Thursday night, week 8. You're going to play a physical, all-in type of football game against the Lions, and you're on a short week going to Los Angeles. I could see that being a big-time trap game. Rams, they don't have a good record, but a big reason of that is because they've been hurt. Once they get Kupp, once they get Nakua back, that would be a very, very good football team that they would be playing. And, maybe another guy, the Falcons scare me. I think they'll win that game, the Vikings, but still got Kirk in a revenge game. Kirk's a motivated guy. That's a game I could see them dropping. Even the Cardinals at home, Kyler making plays, the Jags, Trevor Lawrence. Even though the Jags are a bad football team, they still got a very, very talented quarterback. But I got the Vikings going 14-3 then this season. DPP saying, are the Packers overhyped? I don't get the Super Bowl hype. I don't know if they're overhyped. I just don't think they're on the same level with the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously you go in the Lambeau and beat them. That should be enough to prove that to the common fan. But again, Nick Wright had the Packers ahead of him in his latest tiers list. So I think the Packers could make the Super Bowl, but I just don't trust their defense enough. I don't trust their, even though they got a bunch of good weapons, they don't have a great weapon necessarily, even though Jaden Reed's look pretty damn good. But I do get the Packers hype. But I do think they are a little overhyped. But kicking the Rocky, last question, saying, what is Jeffery Simmons' contract situation? It's pretty affordable. Right now, this upcoming year, he is on the books for, I believe, $21 million. $21.6 million. So, the Vikings would have to restructure some contracts to make this work. But if you're getting Jeffery Simmons for the next 4 years on those numbers, I'm taking that. That's one of the best defensive linemen in the league. And that would take this defense to a whole nother level. So, I think the Vikings can afford it. But we'll wait and see what happens at the deadline. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, give me a skull down below in the comments section. Want to see where all the real ones are at. And if you guys type skull down below, I'll show you guys some extra love down there. And also give me a follow on Twitter. That's a handle right there, at Pat Sieps. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. As always, Skull Vikes. Alrighty, appreciate you guys. Appreciate you. Kevin saying Vikings will not trade. Tang Yang, what up? That's a good point, Harvey. Cap is going up. Nikki J say, see you, Pat. Have a good one. Appreciate you. Tom Lyles, shout out to you. Richard saying skull. Appreciate you guys. But we are going to sign off here. I'm going to put that cut out on the channel. I'd appreciate if you guys go check it out. Nick Wright disrespecting the Minnesota Vikings. So we'll talk about it. But Thank you guys so much for watching today's live show. See you guys next time, next Wednesday. And as always, Skol Vikes.